just chasing gold. This game's ours, it's ours to hold. One shot left, one play to run. Make it count under the setting sun. It's game time grind. All or nothing on the line. Push through the pain. Leave it all in the rain. It's game time grind. Victory's ours to find. Victory's ours to find. It's game time grind. Victory's ours to find. Victory's ours to find. Victory's ours to find.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Game Time Grind. I'm your host, Ali the Persian, and we're back with a brand new show, right? Tonight, we're going to go team by team of the first round of the NFL draft and kind of give you a snapshot of what could be. This isn't a mock draft. No, it's not a mock draft, but we're going to break down, all 32 picks, what the team by team, what their biggest free agent arrivals and departures were, and kind of what we feel would be our projected first round pick, or what their biggest needs are for each team in this first round. But before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, right? Subscribe if you're brand new. Turn on the notification bell. We go every Tuesday. We got a lot of shows scheduled for the future. We're going to be live here on 4th and 10U, including the TFTG network. The entire draft, the entire NFL draft, we're going to be live. It's going to be great. But yeah, how's it going, Steve, Mystic? How you guys doing? It's been quite a week.
It's definitely been a crazy week, but man, I'm excited. I'm ready for this show today. Woohoo!
How's it going, Mystic? How you doing?
What's going on, fellas? I'm ready. I'm ready to get into the meat and potatoes, if you will.
Definitely. Before we do that, first of all, for anyone that I didn't speak to this past weekend, happy Nowruz. And if you don't know what Nowruz is, it's the spring equinox. For some, it's the new year. It's the Persian New Year. They celebrate New Year's on the first day of spring. And Nowruz translates to new day, and it's definitely a new day. So just wanted to say that real quick. If you didn't know, Persian culture, it's not just one day of celebrations. It's an entire week of different traditions and stuff. So it's pretty interesting. Just wanted to say to everyone, happy Nowruz. That's number one. Number two, before I get on with the show, Mystic, don't you have some, hooting and hollering to do? Didn't somebody lose this past week? I kind of need to know, where you at? I thought you were going to bring the smoke with that.
I had a good fun with it. I had a good fun with it for a day. I don't want to be too over the top because obviously I know that at any point in time they just fall on their face. That's what I've seen them do my whole life. So, but it was damn good to see the Iowa Hawkeyes take down the defending national champ Florida Gators and get to their first Sweet 16 since 1999. That's good times. That's real good times. I'm excited. What's crazy is they've already beaten Nebraska once this year. They split the series 1-1. Like, it's going to be – those two teams hate each other. That's what people don't understand. Iowa and Nebraska can't stand each other. It's going to be a game.
Yeah, I was seeing some of the memes on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it, but they were taking snapshots of like rival European and South Americans, I would say soccer teams, and how they have like torches and flares in the stands and they're
Nope.
pointing at each other. That's what the Cornhuskers versus Iowa game is going to feel like. It's almost going to be like and I'm going to go back to the Big Ten, but the biggest rivalry in all of the Big Ten. It's almost like an Ohio State Michigan game. Kind of.
Yep.
That's their
100%.
rival, right? So it's going to be exciting. I'm going to stand with my brother and root for Iowa because I just hate Nebraska in all forms. I'm not going to lie.
Appreciate you.
So I'm going to root for Iowa. But I'm sorry, bro. No matter who wins, it doesn't matter because this is the team that's going to win it. Duke, baby. Blue Devils all the way. Blue Devils. Here. I know it. You know, the Boozer twins are really coming to play. I cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That St. John's matchup, that's going to be a hell of a ball game, man. I'm excited to watch that too.
Definitely. Steve, you got something to
I
say?
don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear none of this. My Bulls got taken by the horn, so Mystic, save a spot for me. I'm jumping on that bandwagon.
Hey, I got two bandwagons over here. You know, we got Iowa State. You know, I believe Iowa State's Final Four team. So
hey, my team got smoked in the first round too. They went on a hell of a run the last part of the season into the Big Ten tournament and then into the the March Madness. So I figured, you know what, I was representing the Big Ten. I'm rocking with it. I know Nebraska's there too, but
true. Come on over, fellas. Come on over.
yeah, I'm going with Iowa. That's where I'm going. So, anyways. Yeah, that was some news. I figured I'd give you a segment. I thought you'd be on here going 100, you know, like, oh, yeah, baby, you know, talking all the smoke, but you didn't. So shout out to you.
That was yesterday. I think I probably played the ending clip of that game probably, 10, 15 times throughout the day in a space yesterday. So, everyone knows I was hyped about it. Again, I mean, if you know me personally, I was literally 7 years old the last time that they were in this position. So very, very interesting situation. And, it's fun. It's fun to watch the ride, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, this year alone, historically, when you think about when the last time was that certain things happened, has been very, very interesting and fun. I mean, you look at the United States versus Canada hockey game, right? The last time that we won a gold medal was the Miracle on Ice. So you think about that.
Yep.
And when the last time was, and then this is when the last time Iowa, beat the number one overall, going into play Nebraska, their biggest rival. So it's going to be very interesting what happens. That's what I'll say. Also, going into some other news, this has been a segment that has made the rounds again back to the 4th and 10U network. The coaching carousel continues. I don't know if you guys saw, and it's not an Ohio State podcast, but this is some Ohio State news. I figured I'd give it some love. Joe Kim, a longtime NFL pass rush consultant and renowned Taekwondo instructor, who Nick Saban, the GOAT of GOAT college football coaches, called the pass rush guru, has reportedly joined the Ohio State's defensive staff. And if you look at the staff already, they already have Arthur Smith. They got this guy. They have Ryan Day. They have a collection. Matt Patricia. Let's not forget about Matt Patricia. They have a collection of high-level NFL talented coaches. I'm kind of expecting big things out of Ohio State's defense this year. It'll be very interesting what they do and how they perform in this coming up year with all the talent they brought in, not just in recruiting, but also in the transfer portal. College football back. I want to say spring practices and everything that starts this week coming up. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, it feels like college football is so far away, but it's here. We're back in the groove. So I cannot wait. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that pickup? I think it was
really interesting, and I think expectations is a good word. I think there should be expectations when you have that kind of leadership on that side of the ball, you should have some pretty good damn production, in my opinion, throughout the season. From all levels. I mean, that's going to be that
Yeah,
defensive line, though. You should see that defensive line shredding people. Let's be honest.
definitely. Absolutely. Other big news, not necessarily coaching carousel, news, but it is definitely some news for recruiting. Rivals has touted Jet Harrison, the younger brother of Marvin Harrison, has been named the #1 player in the country in most recent 2028 Rivals rankings. Marvin Harrison Jr. says that his little brother much more talented than he ever was at his age. That's some big shoes to fill. Marvin Harrison was ultimately one of the best Ohio State receivers, I'll say, in my fandom. I'm sorry, Jeremiah Smith is the best, obviously, but I'm talking about out of the collection of top receivers. It hasn't necessarily turned out in the NFL aspect of it, but that's primarily because I think, and we'll get into that, I think Cardinals need a quarterback, and I think that's his biggest problem. But the fact that he just touted his brother as much more talented than him, damn, now I'm interested. I really want to know what this kid has. And a name like Jet Harrison, that sounds pretty fucking cool. I'm not going to lie. He has a cool football name to go with it. All I know is that he is visiting Ohio State this weekend. So that'll be really interesting what happens. So, if they can get him on board like they did his brother, it'll be definitely a hell of a legacy player if he really ends up being the guy that his brother says. What do you think, Steve?
I mean, it's no. I think I've told you all this. Peyton Manning's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, if not my favorite quarterback of all time. Right?
Yeah.
Which is weird to say, but that being the extension of I loved Marvin Harrison. I had high hopes for his son, who struggled kind of early and is starting to get it going. So having another Harrison, one with the expectation now when your name is Jet to show what Marvin Harrison had, which was some of that speed, right? Listen, I am excited to see another Harrison. There's nothing wrong with having more legacy players in the league. I don't care about what do they say? The what's the word for it? The nepotism, right? Like if you can play, you can play.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be really, really interesting, what happens. I think Ohio State definitely has the leg in. They've had Marvin was there. They treated Marvin. They let Marvin, make his decisions and everything. And he was very, very successful. They know the program inside and out. So I think they have a leg up. So now I guess for me, it's more of like, we got to play the NIL game to see if that really plays a factor in it. But knowing the Harrison heritage though, and this is what I want to land on real quick, Steve, I don't think the NIL is going to be a big issue. For me, they already know they're going to get the money no matter what. It doesn't matter if they go to Ohio State, they go to Michigan, they go wherever, right? Wherever they go, they're going to have the money. The NFL is going to be there. They're going to get the money. They have the name. I just think it's just, what else can they really, I don't really think that's going to be too much of an issue if you understand where I'm getting at. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just gonna say, and I'm honestly asking. I'm not just asking because of the fandom, right? Is there a possibility that USF could throw a monkey wrench in that?
Definitely, there's definitely a chance. How do I put this? That is definitely, if there's one player that I could see this happening with, it could be Jet, but I don't know. The only other player that I think that has a higher chance to come to USF, could be Jeremiah Smith's little brother. That there's a chance that he could go there. That's definitely a chance.
Well, and I brought that up too, to just because you're the spot we're in with the coaching carousel. So I kind of mentioned it earlier. My Bulls kind of got taken by their horns and drove into the ground by Arkansas, and that also led to my head coach of my basketball team walking out the door. He is took a 5-year deal with Providence. So the Bulls got smacked and lost a coach after having a really good season where they ended up first in the East.
Definitely, definitely. That's definitely a thought. It's going to be really interesting what happens. I do expect, being the fact that he's a Harrison and it's Marv's little brother and the whole with his dad. I do expect there be a big battle for Jet Harrison though. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm very hopeful Ohio State strikes again, but you can only have so many 5-star talents coming to Ohio State. So we'll see. All right. Other news outside of Ohio State. I didn't want to. This is not an Ohio State podcast, but I figured I'd bring up some big news because that was kind of big to me. 2028 4-star twins. Yes, twinsies. Amir and Adrian Woodward plan to attend the same college as one team stands out, right? They want to go to school together. They don't want to get split up. They want to, stay at the same college together. And there's teams that are on here. Interesting list. Michigan, Rutgers, Penn State is there, Tennessee, and yes, the Miami Hurricanes are on this list for both Amir and Adrian Woodward. It'll be very, very interesting what happens. I mean, thinking about it, there's been some famous twins coming out of college, right? You look at guys like you had the Watt brothers, right? They're not actually they're not twins, but they're noteworthy. It's definitely noteworthy. You had the Griffin twins, that's more modern era. The Pouncey brothers, obviously, they played together at Florida. God, who was the Bills linebacker and the guy that went to the Steelers? The Edmonds, right?
Yeah,
they were twins.
Edmonds.
And then you had the Barber twins too, right? Trying to think what else.
I don't think those were twins. We had the twins that were with the Patriots. that played for
No,
us.
the Barbers are twins. Tiki and
Are
Rondé. Yeah, they're
I
twins.
thought they were.
Yeah,
brothers.
Rondé and
I didn't
TP
realize that.
are.
I don't remember them being twins. Okay, shit.
Yeah, the Watt brothers are not, but that's definitely a football family, if you know what I mean.
Who were the brothers that played for us in the Patriots?
Oh, the McCourty twins.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the one I couldn't think of. They're kind of where did they go to school? Where did they go to school though? In college, do you guys remember?
I don't.
Damn it! I'm trying to think where they went. Rutgers. They went to Rutgers. I think that's where they went. Yes, they went to Rutgers. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, that was some interesting. That was the last time I saw some twins. I figured I'd give that some news. But that's all I got. So let's get into it, man. We got a lot of teams to go over. I got a lot of notes. Yeah, who takes who? So let's get into this. Steve, do you want to do this in order of the draft? I guess that's the best way we can talk about it, right? We'll just go in order of the draft.
Yeah, go team by team, and then we'll do it in the counterclockwise, right? Go you, Mystic, then I'll pick the last player, and then we'll go team to team in that form.
Okay.
For y'all?
Yeah, just give me a second. Let me bring up the big board because I don't know the order in by heart yet. Sorry. Okay, I know the Raiders had the number 1 pick, but it's changed a little bit over the past week. So let's get into this. The Raiders, right? The Raiders, obviously, they need a quarterback. Looking at what they've done over the past, I would say the past several years, right? They've brought in a lot of talent, but they've never really had the quarterback that they really needed. Recently this year, the Raiders added Tyler Linderbaum, Nakobe Dean, and Quay Walker, while losing Geno Smith, which they traded to the Jets, I believe, or they released him, one of the two. They also, lost Dylan Parham and Daniel Carlson. Their draft needs are ultimately, and I think the sure-hand pick here is going to be quarterback. They also need nose tackle. Safety is definitely on the line there. Offensive line depth and pass game weapons, right? To me, if you're going to build it right, you're in the chance of a lifetime having the number 1 overall pick. It's a no-brainer. It has to be Fernando Mendoza. Even think of it this way, right? You have part owner to this team, Tom Brady, who's the GOAT of GOAT when it comes to NFL quarterbacks, right? He's the greatest of all time, as we say. And nobody knows quarterbacks like he does. And he'll even tell you that Mendoza has a clutch ability that none of these other quarterbacks in this draft has. And to be honest, it's a no-brainer. If they don't go Mendoza, if I'm the owner, I would fire everybody on the spot. You guys have watched the NFL Game Day movie, right? With Kevin Costner and some other people that are in it. You've seen that movie?
Yeah.
Okay. You know that owner, I forget his name. He was in one of the Star Wars episodes. I can't think of the actor's name. In fact, I think he passed away recently. If you know who I'm talking about, the owner walks in and he goes, "You're fired," immediately. Walks in. Bro, I wouldn't just say that. I would bring in a blowtorch and start torching everybody out the building. That's what I would do. This is the most easiest pick that you can make is Mendoza, because he is the real deal. The guy has everything you want. He has leadership. He has the tough game. I don't care if they have a better, defense. He's faced some of the best defenses in college football, right? And he did it, before the college football playoff and after, right? He has everything you want in a quarterback. And his number one ability, he's the best in clutch moments, right? That's hard to get out of a quarterback. And for me, it's a no-brainer, bro. It has to be Mendoza. What do you guys think?
I'm with you 100%. I think it makes sense at that time. It all points towards that. I don't think they move any other way.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Steve?
I think there's a 99.9 to the infinity chance that they take him, right?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer.
I think it is a no-brainer. But if I may throw a monkey wrench, is it possible that the Raiders are still looking at next year and saying, we can get by and go and get a partner and have had a plan to go get a replacement, which is why they traded him for Crosby and take Ruben Bain number 1 overall?
I like where your head's at. I just don't like the player. Can I throw a monkey wrench into your take?
Go ahead.
Last year they signed, if I'm thinking of this correctly, not last year, it might have been the year before last year. They signed Christian Wilkins to $100 million deal, only to release him a year later because of some injury issues and some off the field, we'll call it, but in locker room shenanigans, right? They released him, right? That left a big hole in that defensive line. I don't like Ruben Bain, but I like Peter Woods to fit as a Raider. What do you guys think of that?
It makes a lot of sense.
I actually really like, if they're not going to go quarterback, which they're ultimately, this would be the biggest blunder than watching the Seattle Seahawks throw it on the goal line when all they need to do was run it, right? In the Super Bowl. You guys remember that? This would be the biggest blunder if they don't take Mendoza. But let's say something happens and they have inside information, like he's really not the guy that they think he is. Remember, I'm talking about like the draft day scenario where they went somewhere else. They ended up trading the pick away or whatever. Let's say that happens. Peter Woods is a guy that I think could shore up that defensive line in a heartbeat. That's just me. I really like Peter Woods. I like his size, his motor. he's one of my favorite defensive linemen in this draft. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, I've loved Woods the whole time. I've been huge on the guy. He was one of the guys I talked about when we broke down that position, and yeah, I mean, trust me, I think he's going to go early. I think he is a top 10 pick. I think the dude's going to be an absolute force.
My question is to you, Steve, if they don't go quarterback with number 1 overall, who's trading up to them so they don't have to take a quarterback number 1 overall?
The guys who are sitting right behind them.
The Jets, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. So, hey, there's some other teams. We talked about it backstage, but there's some other teams that could make that jump over the Jets. Let's say the Jets were like, we'll just stay pat, you know what I mean, or whatever, because that's something that they would do. But there's some other teams that I know are willing to make that jump. Any other names for the Raiders before we move on to the next team?
I'm good.
All right. Next team on the board is the New York Jets. Obviously, they have several different needs when it comes to their team. The Jets added Geno Smith, as I mentioned earlier. They picked up the Raiders quarterback. They also picked up Mika Fitzpatrick from Miami and Demario Davis, but lost Jeremiah Johnson. Elijah Vera Tucker's gone, and Quincy Williams is gone. Their top needs are edge, linebacker, wide receiver, 2 offensive line. Wide receiver number 2, offensive line depth, and front 7 youth is their top needs. I'm going to go ahead and say it. They need a quarterback until they finalize that they don't need a quarterback ever, at all. Geno Smith, granted, it's nice. They're bringing him home. Just, they're trying to see if maybe, there's something left in the guy. We saw it play out with Sam Darnold. He ended up winning a Super Bowl. Let's see what happens here, right? So I don't think Geno Smith is the guy, really, for me. I think quarterback is definitely need. If somehow Fernando Mendoza falls, yeah, that could be definitely a pickup. There's also Ty Simpson. He's a quarterback that they could consider. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't think they go quarterback. I think they're going to go some other position. Maybe defense, maybe wide receiver is a possibility. I'm going to go ahead and say Arvell Reese is who I think they're going to pick up with the number 2 overall pick. What do you guys think?
That's exactly who I have. I think they take Arvell and they go ahead and shore that down. If not, if things go as I think they're going to go, and I think Fernando goes 1, right? I mean, that's just kind of consensus of what we all assume to happen. I think it's going to be either Arvell or it's going to be Peter going to the Jets. That's my personal opinion.
Very, very interesting. Okay, I like Peter Woods too for number 2 overall. Who do you have, Steve? I want to see who you have before I give my other honorable mention.
Listen, 2 may be a crowd, but 3 is a collection. I absolutely agree. I do believe that the Jets are going to bank on his potential and take Arvell Reese. However, since you're going to do your honorable, I do want to say I do believe this is also a possibility, another spot that a coin flip could happen, and people don't pay attention enough to David Bailey going to the Jets as well.
Yeah, that actually, he was a guy I was considering too, definitely. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 guys they could really go at number 2, but he's definitely one of them. Another guy that I could see them pulling the trigger on, and in a weird way, let's say they go wide receiver. Does Jordan Tyson fit what they want to do? That's a name to kind of think about too.
Yep. Absolutely.
So,
him and Mekhi Lemon.
Definitely. Any other thoughts on the Jets before we move on to the Arizona Cardinals?
I'm good.
All right. So we're going to go to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, where are we? Here we are. Arizona added Kendrick Bourne, Isaac Samalo. I guess that's how you say his name. I'm sorry if I didn't say that correctly. And
Isaac
Gardner
Salamalu.
Minshew. Gardner Minshew is the quarterback they have. That's the guy I couldn't think of earlier, Steve. While losing Jalen Thompson, their draft needs are edge, rusher, right tackle, secondary help, defensive line depth, and more impact talent up front. Look, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Cardinals need a quarterback. I know they released what's his name, who went to the Vikings, right? I know they released him. For me, I think quarterback is definitely makes sense here. Ty Simpson is a guy I'm considering for the Arizona Cardinals. They need a quarterback. They have talent. They have receivers on that team. Yeah, they could use an edge player as well. There's some other players we could consider here as well. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. This could be one of those moves where Arizona goes and picks their quarterback early. What do you guys think?
Okay, go ahead, Steve, real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with quarterback. It's not who I think they'll take, but it's an absolute need for them without Kyler Murray, without really a true starter, even though they showed a lot of faith in Jacoby Brissett last year, and they really leaned on him, and I do believe they like him a lot, but he's not a franchise quarterback. So just in that essence, like quarterback's a need.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was just kind of having a bite to eat real quick as well on here. It's been one of those days. But anyway, I think based on what they have with Brissett and Minshew, I think they want to be. I think you're seeing teams position themselves for next year's draft class. I think Arizona's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they find themselves rebuilding the team around what they're going to put, pick as a quarterback, I think, next year. Unless they put one later rounds, cool. I got Spencer Fano going to Arizona and or Francis Malgo. I think one of those two get picked up right away by Arizona.
Spencer Fanu is really good pick. Other names like David Bailey makes sense here too. So does Peter Woods. Peter Woods fits a mold what they want to do too. So it'll be really interesting what Arizona does. But some of these teams need a quarterback. They've needed a quarterback not just this year, but for the past 5 years they've needed a quarterback, right? So that's why I'm really, that's why I'm kind of keen on, if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, I'm going QB. You need to finally pull the trigger at some point.
I get it.
So like I said, though, I just wanted to say it. Like I said, it's not who I think they're going to take quarterback wise. I think Mystic hit it on the head, and I think Lewis in the chat hit it on the head. I think there was a phrase the other week that was brought up on X. What team is going to win the race for the tank? The Cardinals or the Dolphins? And I do believe they are going to build and looking for a quarterback next year. I honestly believe, and it hurts my soul because you know how bad I want him. I do think Francis Mauigoa leaves and heads his way west to Arizona.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. Any other final thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals?
No, but I think you should let me lead the way. You can talk about the Titans, but you should let me lead the way on this pick because I think it's just a home run and it makes perfect sense.
Okay, if you want to talk about it, I'll just give the little snippet of what they've done, and then
100%.
And you can take it from there, and then I'll give you my feedback based on what you say. All right, the Tennessee Titans, they brought in John Franklin Myers, Wan'Dale Robinson, who I actually like. I like Wan'Dale Robinson a lot. I can't believe the Giants let him go.
For sure.
And Alontae Taylor, while losing L'Jarius Sneed, Lloyd Cushenberry, and I can never say this guy's name right, Chig Okinawa? Apologies if I didn't say that correctly. My bad. Their draft needs are interior offensive line, linebacker, tight end, depth, defensive back help, and overall offensive playmakers. So who do you got? I kind of think I know where you're going. It makes complete sense. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say based off of, Cam, running around for his life last year, I think based on the whole Arizona thing, it's if Fanu goes to Arizona, I think Maugoa goes to Tennessee. If Maugoa goes to Arizona, I think Fanu goes to Tennessee. I think they continue to build that line to allow Cam to make plays. That's why they go and get him more. That's why they get a tight end, right? I think the other alternative.
Wait on your alternative, though. Wait on your alternative.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm going to go first. Look, I'm going to say this famous line: history repeats itself. And if you look at the history of Tennessee Titans, they've always had one thing. And in my opinion, when they were successful, the one thing that they've had was one hell of a running back. They had, if you go back in history, they had, what's his name? Why at the most important moment I can't think of his name? They had Eddie George, for example.
Oh,
right. They had Eddie George when they first joined the league, and then they had recently they had Derrick Henry, right? They had Derrick Henry recently, and the years that they didn't have him, they really weren't that great.
Chris
right?
Johnson.
I was
Say that
saying
again?
they had
Chris Johnson.
CJ2K. Yeah.
You guys are talking at the same time. I can't hear what you guys are saying. Sorry.
Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson. Yes, they had Chris Johnson. That was another guy. I couldn't think of his name. So thank you. That's another guy they had. So they've always had a big big time running back. Jeremiah Love, bro. I'm sorry. I think it makes complete sense. History is going to repeat itself. They're going to bring in a big time bell cow running back, and then they're just going to build the team around him again with the trenches. I could see that happening. And if you have a guy like that in your backfield, when it comes to Cam Ward, I think he can benefit from that. You don't have to rely on him. He can take a load off and just hand the ball off to the running back. I think it makes sense. But to your point, Mystic, maybe you're right. Maybe they're just going to build trenches, and it makes complete sense. That makes sense too. So I agree both ways. Go ahead, Steve. What's your final thoughts?
Yeah, CJ2K was definitely. I still argue like the biggest when I think of the Titans. That's who they are. However, I think the Titans reach. Because as much as you talked about, Mystic talked about Cam Ward running for his life, and I get the running back, but the one thing everybody talked about all year, the Titans were missing, was a wide receiver. And I think they reach and take Carnell Tate.
I could see that too, really. I could.
I think a lot of people see his 0 drops. They see what he was able to do with coverage drawn towards mind blank. Your other wide receiver, please. Mind blank.
Oh God.
Ollie, your other wide receiver, mind blank, please.
Not Jeremiah. Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah, thank you.
Well,
My
he's not
mind
in the
went right
draft.
out
That's
the
what I
window.
was like. Are you talking about this draft?
Yeah.
I was kind of confused.
No,
Sorry.
no. Yeah, mine right out the window. No, yeah. So they saw what he could do when the coverage wasn't completely over him, that he could show up in those games. I think there's going to be a team that reaches for him, and I think this is the one They want to get him some weapons. I don't necessarily believe it's running back. I do believe it's wide receiver, though.
It'll be interesting. That wide receiver is something that, you know, that they need. But look, for me, I just think that Jeremiah Love makes complete sense to Tennessee. I don't see a receiver going in the top 5 of this draft. I just don't. And if Tennessee wants a receiver that bad, like a specific one, why not just trade a couple spots down and then pick up your receiver? You know what I'm saying? But Jeremiah Love, to me, I could see them doing it. They historically, go back and look, when they were good, they had a hell of a damn running back. It started from when they started in the league all the way until when Derrick Henry left finally. That's why I have them taking Jeremiah Love. But I definitely understand your point. Receiver is definitely an option. Another name to look at for Tennessee, I would say linebacker might be an option for them. Anthony Hill Jr. That's a name to watch out for. So, though I think that's kind of reaching just a little bit, but linebacker is a position that I could see them going after. All right. Any other final thoughts on the Tennessee Titans?
No, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if Arvell Reese doesn't go to the Jets, number 2, I think they could bring him in as an interior linebacker, since they need both linebacker and edge, so they can use him in both aspects.
I could see that. Definitely. Next team, the New York Giants, right? The New York Giants, they added Isaiah Likely, Tremaine Edmonds, while losing Wan'Dale Robinson, Cordell Flott, and Daniel Bellinger all left, right? Their draft needs are offensive line, defensive line, linebacker. They need corner depth and receiver support. There is a guy I have in mind here who some say had the generational draft combine. It just depends, because they've kind of addressed this side of the ball several times in the last couple of drafts. Could they go defense again? Sonny Styles makes sense here. I could see Sonny Styles being a guy that goes to the Giants. You know, he's linebacker. You know, they do need defensive line as well. So Peter Woods kind of makes sense. I don't expect them to go receiver, to be honest. I'm kind of liking Sonny Styles. What do you guys think as a New York Giant?
I think it makes a lot of sense. But I had heard some interesting things about Cam Scadaboo here recently, and I don't know if the reports are entirely legit, but it's basically about his football future type of thing. And funny enough, you had him a pick before me, but I had good old Jeremiah Love right here at the Giants. I think that makes sense for them too.
Definitely, that's interesting pick too. Definitely. What do you think, Steve?
So it hurts my heart because I actually had them taking Sonny Styles as well. However, the Ravens have a history of making the right pick at the right time and people going, I didn't expect that. I'm wondering, and in my thought process of Harbaugh going there and taking over, not allowing Joe, is it Joe Shane? I can't remember their GM's name, to kind of taking his role in a lot of ways. I think there's a real chance, if they don't take Sonny Styles, that they take Vega Ione at guard and shore up what the Ravens always felt was the trenches.
I have one other name. Same side of the ball as you, but my honorable mention, and now that you reminded me that Harbaugh is there, the trenches could definitely be addressed. Francis Mayagoa. That could
if he
be a
falls,
pick.
absolutely.
If he fall, well, we're talking about it in the retrospect. We haven't mentioned his name yet, in this draft order. Yeah, I think the Giants could take Francis very easily. So that's a name that you got to be on the watch out for. I would say it's a tie between Sonny and Francis, the way I'm thinking about it now, though. So, and as you mentioned, as a Raven, they always picked the right trench player at the right time. You know what I mean? So it makes sense. So, any other names ring a bell for you guys?
Mystic, if you don't have anybody, I do have a wild card.
No, go ahead.
So I know they ended up signing the tight end from Baltimore, but this is Harbaugh we're talking about, and he's always had those two tight ends. I do think, even though it's kind of a wild spot to take him, and I do not believe it would happen, but again, this is Harbaugh, Kenyon Sadiq at tight end, and giving him his two dynamic tight ends that he likes to have.
That'd be pretty crazy.
That would be definitely pretty crazy. I definitely agree with that. The two tight end sets, they've always had two good tight ends at all times. So that is definitely something to think about for sure, Steve. I definitely agree. It's going to be very exciting. On to the Cleveland Browns now. The Cleveland Browns added Titus Howard, Zion Johnson, and Elton Jenkins, I think is how you say it. And their departures were lighter, with Devin Bush among the most notable losses. Their biggest needs are left tackle, wide receiver, quarterback, for long-term, quarterback long-term we're talking about, linebacker depth, and defensive youth. If Francis Mayagoa falls, this is where I do have him going to, if he falls to Cleveland, right? But that's not who I would say would be necessarily their first pick, to be honest. They have a couple quarterbacks there. I don't expect them to take quarterback again. And the one thing I've noticed that they've been toying with this offseason has been receiver. They need some receiver help, right? I'm going to say it. I think what makes sense for me, if you're going to take a Carnell Tate, I think this would be a good time to look at a guy like that. Carnell Tate, there's other receivers you could look at. They could also wait and maybe trade down, or let's see, do they have another first round pick? Do they? I don't know if they do. Yeah, they do. 24. Ooh. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I'm gonna stick with my Francis Mayoga pick at here if he falls to here. I think that would be a great spot. If they were able to get him, I think it makes complete sense. What do you think, Mystic? And I'm gonna hold my second person for later on in the draft.
No, you're good. So I think those other two are gone personally by then. And I think we're looking at this, Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. I think he makes sense there. Or if Carnell Tate isn't taken, I think Carnell Tate makes sense there as well.
Okay. That makes sense. What do you think, Steve?
So you guys had him going much earlier than this, but I think this is where he ends up falling, and it's not necessarily a need, but I believe it's a need. This is where I think Peter Wood falls to. They line him up to next to Mason, and go double defensive tackle and try and build even more pressure through that defensive line.
Look, I think that makes complete sense. I mean, you look at it, they haven't been very good at picking quarterbacks and doing whatever to get their quarterback, but they have been really good building the defense over the past several years. So it makes complete sense. They have Myles Garrett there. They have who's the other guy? Mason Graham is who they have over there, right? Is that who I'm thinking of? Yeah, Mason Graham. You bring in Peter Woods. That definitely makes sense too. And you have one hell of a defensive front, to be honest. I would agree with that 100%. I just think that either way you look at it, this position, even if it's not Francis Mayoga, I think it's going to be a trench player. I kind of agree with that. And later on, I'm going to hold my thoughts for who the second first round pick would be. So
I will say too, if Peter Wood is gone, which could be a very good possibility, I think some people might think it's a little too high for him, but I also think Caden McDonald could go here as well at defensive tackle.
that's a guy that I like the thoughts on it. Caden McDonald is an option, but I do think it's way too high. So I definitely think he's first round pick talent, no matter what. I agree with that. This would just be too rich for my blood. I would trade down, pick him up a little bit later. That's my thoughts. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next team? We're making good headway here, actually.
Nope.
All right. Next team, the Washington Commanders, right? They definitely do not need quarterback, in my opinion. But what they do need, and let me just bring this up here. Where is my notes for the Commanders? I know I had it. Here it is. So Washington added, oh my God, I can never say this guy's name. Odafe Owe? I can never say that. Sorry.
Odafe Owe.
Owe. Okay, I was close. Leo Chanel and Chig I tried to say this guy's name. I'll just call him Chig, but that's what I tried to say his name earlier. They lost Jacob Martin, Chris Rodriguez, and Noah Igbenogany. We all know him. He left there as well. Their draft needs are wide receiver, edge depth, offensive line help. I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think receiver is on the cards for the Washington Commanders. It could be Carnell Tate if he falls. There's a lot of rumors about what Washington wants to do at receiver, and who they may want to bring in. They brought in people over the past couple years. I just think a guy like what's his name? Let me find his name real quick. The guy out of Arizona, Jordan Tyson could be a guy here. There's Denzel Boston. That's a guy that could be going here. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, but in my opinion, could Malachi Lemon go here to the Commanders?
That's what I was going to say. Mekhi Lemon.
Mekhi Lemon. I'm sorry.
Mekhi Lemon is my pick here for the Commanders to pair Terry McLaurin. Perfectly well.
That's I think it could happen. What do you think of that, Steve?
I like it.
The other position of need was edge. I'm expecting some of these edge players to be gone by then. I just think receiver makes sense here for the Commanders. So good. Yeah.
I had the same idea, and again, this is just me because I'm so weird with the draft. I expect the non-expected. I think his 40 time messed up Mekhi Lemon a little bit, to be honest. I think his film saves him a bit. But I think there's a guy who showed out during the combine.
Mm-hmm.
I think Conception could go here.
That's interesting because that is a guy I definitely could see going here, if not within the next 2 picks afterwards. So definitely interesting. I want to say he's like the juggernaut receiver because he's not like your purebred home run hitter receiver. He's just an athletic weapon that can do so many different things, not just as a receiver, but as a rusher as well. He has a lot of do you guys remember a guy named Cornell Patterson? Do you guys remember Cornell Patterson?
Yes.
He kind of reminds me of like that. You could line him up in the backfield. You could put him out in the slot. You could put him out and outside too. I mean, you can put him in different positions, and he could get you some numbers. Consistent
I think
numbers.
he reminds me of the guy that's on the team with him, or would be on the team with him.
Who?
Their other receiver. I don't know why names can't.
McLaren?
Terry McLaurin.
McLaren? Yeah. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of him too. Definitely. I definitely see what you meant by that. So I think it makes sense. I think that is definitely a name to watch out. I would say a name to watch out in this range of where we're at with the draft, being the fact that we're at the 7th pick, essentially. Somewhere after the 7th, I expect him to go for sure. Any other thoughts on the Commanders before we move on to the next pick?
Yeah, I think
I
was gonna say I do have a throw out name just for, because again, like I think he would fit Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Love, if he is still on the board, I think fits this offense and what they like to do. The ability to, 1, pass block, 2, pass catch, 3, could you imagine the design runs, the dual read options with Jeremiah Love and that quarterback? Like, if he were to fall there, I think that would be a wonderful place if you want to get the best out of him.
Yep, I can see that.
I'm back. Sorry. Yes.
Did you have any other final thoughts on that pick?
No, I'm good.
Good. All right. We're going to go on to the Saints. The Saints added David Edwards, Travis Etienne Jr., and Caden Ellis while losing Demario Davis, Alante Taylor, and Cameron Jordan. The draft needs are edge rusher, defensive youth, corner depth, linebacker depth, and offensive line help. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think this is a no-brainer for me. I think a South Beach talented edge rusher is going to take his talents to New Orleans, or Nolans, as they say. Ruben Bain makes sense here at edge for the Saints. What do you guys think of that? I think it's a fresh pass rusher energy. Look, we know Ruben Bain has the ability to set the tone, get around defenders very quick because he's so fast. I don't know how well he is with his shorter arms. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I know I've kind of done that in the last couple of episodes, but I just don't know. How do I say it? I don't know in the NFL if it will translate like that part of his game, or is it going to be kind of a learning curve? I think out of what's left on the board, what I expect to be left, I think this is the best edge player. They need edge bad. I think it makes sense. What do you guys think?
So I think Ruben Bain and Arvell Reese are already gone by this point, and I think they get this, in my opinion, the more maybe all around prospect. I think they get David Bailey here.
That's true. That's an option. That's definitely a possibility. What do you think,
Ollie,
Steve?
get out of my head.
You had them
This is exactly where I think Ruben Bain goes.
I think so too.
Perfectly.
Yeah, I could definitely see them going Ruben Bain here for sure.
I do want to say one more.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think this, but even with the pieces they have, it wouldn't surprise me if they took like a Mansour Delaney here.
I agree with that.
That's true. There needs more so though. I think they need more help on that line and especially at edge. I think that'd be more impactful for them. That's why I have Ruben Bain. Other names to think about when it comes to the Saints, you could look at Zion Young. That's another name to look out for. Or if they go receiver, Carnell Tate is available too. But they've had receivers. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Chris Olave is still there, right?
Yeah, if he can stay on the field.
Yeah, because he's injured a lot, right? So they have Chris Olave. They have some other receivers. They did bring in at running back. They did bring in Travis Etienne Jr. They still have what's his name, Kamara, right? They still have him over there.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah,
but they did trade away a receiver this year.
Who did they trade?
To the Seahawks. The kick returner. I can't remember his name at the second.
Is that
Rashid? Yeah.
Yeah.
Rashid.
There you go, Rashid. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy, and people will probably call me crazy for this. My sneaky pick here was Omar Cooper.
That is kind of high. That is kind of high. I definitely see why that would be sneaky. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting. I think edge makes sense for them. So that's why I'm going edge. Let's see here. Who is the next team? Chiefs. Okay. So the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They always find certain players at the right time also, kind of like what you were mentioned before. They added Kenneth Walker, right? The Super Bowl winner, Kenneth Walker. They also had added Alohi Gilman and Kyrus Tunga. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I'm not really good with names. But they did trade. There was a massive trade for Trent McDuffie. That kind of surprised me. Leo Chanel and Brian Cook were some of their losses. They need cornerback help. They need edge rusher. They need safety. They need linebacker depth and defensive backfield reloads, to be honest. This is another place that Mansour Delane could fall to. Another name to watch out is, lo and behold, you know, the top safety in this draft, Caleb Downs, could fall here, right? For me, it's going to be really interesting what they do. I'm going to say Mansour Delane makes a lot of sense. There's, I that's kind of where I think they're at with this, to be honest. I hate to say it. That's the guy I want to go later on, but yeah, Mansour Delane, I think, makes a lot of sense here. To be 100% honest, and I think that's where what's going to happen. Other names to look at for me when it comes to Kansas City, I would say, Caleb Downs, I already mentioned. Later on, maybe, we'll get to that draft pick later on, but yeah, those are the two guys I think makes complete sense here. What do you guys think?
So, just depending on kind of how some of these guys fall early on at the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stop messing around, and you got to give Patrick Mahomes a weapon that's going to consistently be out there and catch that ball. And I think if Jordan Tyson or an Omar Cooper Jr. is out there, I think they nail him. Or to Steve's point, that last, Casey Concepcion or whatever, that would be amazing in Kansas City's offense.
Yeah, he was a guy that I'd really thought about too for Kansas City. that's actually my guy, like throwing like, holy crap, they went with him. That's my holy crap move, to be honest. But I think they need more defensive help. That's why I said the two people that I did. Go ahead, Steve. What do you think?
So again, get out of my mind. This is where I have the lane going as well. However, if the lane is gone, this is where I have Avian Terrell going. Avian Terrell is barely being looked over by a lot of people talking about the draft, and I think it's insane. The kids like that, and it shows up every time you watch him play football. I think this is a very good spot for him if the lane's gone.
If the lane is gone, they could also look at Jermod McCoy too. He's the
I had
second
him there.
corner. So
I had him there, but I thought the injury would make them look away and go more to Terrell.
yeah, it's definitely possible. You're definitely right. Any other final thoughts on Kansas City?
No, sir.
All right. In addition, let's see. After Kansas City, we have the Bengals. The Bengals are on the board. Let's talk about some of their notable additions and departures and kind of get an idea on the Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals brought in Boy Mafe. I think that's how you say it. Brian Cook and Jonathan Allen, while losing Trey Hendrickson, Joseph Osase, and Geno Stone. The draft needs include corner, linebacker, edge depth, offensive line, and secondary stability, essentially. Some people think Caleb Downs could be a guy for this, and that makes complete sense, to be honest. But I'm going to throw something in there. I'm going to go, we already know they have the weapons and everything. I think offensive line is a big need here. Spencer Fanu. I'm going to go ahead and say Spencer Fanu, or the best offensive lineman that's available, I think goes here. If they don't go Caleb Downs. I expect them to go Caleb Downs, but I really kind of feel like it's a better pick if they went offensive line and address that protection. You need to be able to protect Joe Burrow. You need to make sure you keep him healthy. You want the pass blocking to be available because you want him to be able to hit his weapons, Jamar Chase and others. You also want the blocking ability for the run game. Get that run game going. I just think it's definitely would be a definite impact. Corner is also a position of need for them, or maybe secondary in general. That's why Caleb Downs makes complete sense here. But yeah, those are my guys that I think that could go there. What do you think, Mystic or Steve?
No, unfortunately, sorry for Miami fans, but we won't be able to get the guy who's more impactful than Ruben Bain, Sonny Styles. I think he's off the board there, and I think Sonny goes to Cincinnati. Unfortunately, no, but for real though, I do think Sonny goes there, and when it comes down to it, as a Miami fan, we've always had these drafts, and through certain parts of the draft, you just have these moments where you're like, I really want the guy. And then he's taken right before we get a chance to pick. And I think Sonny Styles is going to be that guy.
Yeah, hey, it could be. One thing that their defense is lacking is speed and playmaking. That's kind of why I think Caleb Downs could be a guy here, but Sonny Styles could bring that also. What do you think, Steve?
I think this is Downs. I think, as for what Mystic just said, and based on how I believe the board falls, I believe my tight end, my tackle number 1 is gone. I believe my defensive tackle number 1 is gone. I believe my corner number 1 is gone. And I believe my linebacker 1 is gone. And I believe my safety number 1 leaves right before I can take him. He 100% fits what the Bengals need right now. He just does. Caleb Downs.
All right, Caleb Downs. Damn. Well, we'll see what Cleveland or what Cincinnati does. In addition, the next pick in the Miami Dolphins, right? The Miami Dolphins brought in Malik Willis. It's a brand new regime here in Miami, right? We have Eric Sullivan, the third or whatever number he's at, as our new GM. We have Jeff Hafley as our new head coach. We are Packers South, as they call us now. Brought in Malik Willis. We brought in Joshua Uche and Jalen Tolbert, the wide receiver out of Dallas, who reminds me a lot of Cedric Wilson that we had from Dallas? I kind of getting the Cedric Wilson vibes, sort of, from him. We decided to go ahead and take the bullet, and we let go of Tua Tagovailoa. We made the massive blockbuster trade for to send Jalen Waddle to Denver for the 30th overall pick in the NFL draft and more. And we let go of Bradley Chubb. Their draft needs are wide receiver, cornerback, offensive line, edge depth, and overall defensive speed. Man, for me, it was tough on who I would take here. And it depends on how this draft falls. For me, I as much as people say we need wide receiver, you look at who we brought in. We did bring in Tutu Atwell, and others at the wide receiver. We already have Malik Washington still. We still have Taj Washington and some other playmakers. Is Devon Achane still going to be here? That's a big question too for us. So we got to wait and see what happens with that. There's been some rumors that a big deal is coming soon. My question is the big deal with us, or is it a big deal with a different team? That's the big question. For me, I know the consensus are saying that playmakers like Mekhi Lemon makes sense here, or even other wide receivers. But I'm going to go ahead and say this, that depending on how this board falls, I do expect us to take a defensive player. It could be Caleb Downs makes sense here if he falls to us. We definitely need safety help. We traded away Fitzpatrick. This guy, bringing in Caleb Downs, I think settles our safety needs. He can play strong safety. He can play free safety. He can play even corner when we need him to at a very good level. So, and I'm not even going to get into the talk about how generational he is, because I know people say that's subjective, but that's what people do say out there in the mainstream media. I'm going to go ahead and say that defense is what we're going to address. The question is, what do we do here? Is it Sonny Styles? Does he fall to us? Because that would definitely be a need that I could see at linebacker being a need. We definitely need safety help and corner. Delane, to be honest, the pick that I want here, the pick that I want as a fan, and just I think he would be awesome, is Mansour Delane. That's who I want. I think he's the best corner in this damn draft. And I think there's a big drop off after him, to be honest. So it'll be very interesting on what ends up happening here. I think it just depends on what's available. Do we go receiver? Do we go safety? I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think we're going to go ahead and take the best corner that's available. That could be that could be McCoy out of Tennessee, Jermon McCoy. It could be Mansour Delane. I think either of those makes sense for me. I think this corner is a position of need. And I think receiver can wait. And there's definitely a lot of receivers later on in this draft that we can get in the second or third round. And there's much bigger receivers also that you can get in next year's draft that are going to be available. So for me, I think it's going to be whatever corner is available. I'll just say, because you guys already mentioned Mansour Delane going somewhere else, I'm going to go say it's Jermon McCoy. It makes a lot of sense. I think he's the next best corner that's available in this draft. What do you guys got?
I like it. Miami always does sometimes finds a way to do like something that we don't expect or something off of the norm, or like this is the guy that you should take, and they take a guy that you're like, okay, he was behind him, or he was, not necessarily as sought after as you might think, right? I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case for this guy, but I'm just saying they like to sometimes throw us those curveballs, right?
Yeah.
I think the curveball could be within the edge presence. If I had to pick a corner, I could see them going with, what is it, Avion Terrell? I can see them throwing a hardcore curveball there and pulling something like that, or going after one of the edge rushers left. So, we've already talked about Bailey and Bain and Reese. I could see them going and getting like Keldrick Falk, something like that. More of what we need defensively. Again, we're getting ready to see how Halfley wants to build his defensive front, and a dude who's 6'6", 276 at the edge rush. Oh man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. I could see that. That would be really crazy. What do you think, Steve?
So I just said it in my last one. Maui Goa, gone. Styles, gone. Delane, gone. Caleb Downs, gone. In my thought process of how this board fell, based on who I believe will be available at 30, I'm taking Jordan Tyson at wide receiver. He's the best guy available. His injuries, I understand. I understand the fear because of our history with injuries. But in my opinion, he is the best wide receiver in this class. It's going to scare people out of the top 10 because of his injuries. I think getting him here, you fill the position you lost in Jalen Waddle. He brings the size, the catch radius, and enough speed to make up for everything else. I believe that though we have a defensive head coach, this class is deep defensively, much more so than offensively. I think we do go, as the board falls this way, I do think Jordan Tyson makes a lot of sense.
I agree. Jordan Tyson definitely does. I just, a lot of people are high on Mekhi Lemon. I'm not. I'm not high on Mekhi Lemon. He didn't have the best pro day either. You saw that blunder with his 40 time. There's a lot of different ways this draft could go. I'm just looking at it in the sense that where is there a massive drop off from the talent? Now, you look at Jordan Tyson, I would agree he's one of the best receivers in this draft. You got Carnell Tate, you got Jordan Tyson. Denzel Boston is a name that I really like as well. Later on, you have Omar Cooper Jr. That's a name to kind of think about as well. I'm putting that into my possibilities. And in addition, later on, even in the second or third round, you got guys like what's his name? Jacoby Lane out of USC, right? The other USC wide receiver. You got guys like that you could grab. There's a shit ton of speed bursters if that's really what you're looking for. So you have a lot to play with. Now, do you do it now, or do you take the position where after Jared McCoy, or even say Mansour Delane's there, one of the two, right? Let's say either those guys are there. Obviously, Mansour Delane's going to be your pick, but let's say he's not. After Jared McCoy, is there a drop off for corner? I think there is.
No, not as much.
I think there's a big drop off, to be honest. This is my opinion, Steve. I think there is. In fact, I'll go ahead and say it. The next best corner, in my opinion, maybe. God, I want to say this guy plays for Colorado, but I think it's a different team he plays for. Hood? Know who I'm talking about? Colton Hood
plays for Tennessee.
The other Tennessee corner. So, that's an option. You could get a guy in the second round, for at corner. What's his name? Igbinosun. David Igbinosun. That's a guy you can get in the second or third round, to be honest.
Deontay Scott.
There's Deontay Scott. I mean, to be honest, from Jared McCoy or Jamon McCoy or Mansour Delane. I think there's a massive drop off there, right? Receiver, I don't know. Maybe there is a massive drop off. I think you look at guys like Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate. You look at guys like Denzel Boston. You look at guys like you mentioned, Mekhi Lemon, or even who's the Omar Cooper, right? All of those guys. There's him too. I just think that there's not as much of a drop off at receiver. And now I get it. Jordan Tyson, you could argue that he's the best receiver in this draft. I'll tell you, he's better than Carnell Tate. And I don't know why draft boards still have Carnell Tate over him. I really, and I hate to say this, and I love Carnell Tate. He's really good, very talented. He has a real feel-good story about him. If you ever find out his story about his mom and everything. And he's definitely can be a down the field burner. He can play the inside. He can do a lot of things great for you, right? Contested catch kind of guy. I don't see like that. He's not that special to me, right? I'll argue that a lot of the looks and the yards and stuff he was able to put on over the last 2 seasons is because he had a guy named Jeremiah Smith next to him. I'll argue that, right? So that's kind of why I'm not that high on Carnell Tate. That's not taking anything away from him. I still think he's one of the better receivers on this draft. I just don't think he's the best one. Jordan Tyson, in my opinion, is the best. I'm kind of a tie between Carnell and Denzel Boston, to be honest. I like Boston a lot. But there's some other receivers down the road I like too. So, I mean, it depends how you look at it. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Anything that I said there?
I just think there are starting corners as deep as the 3rd round, like Will Lee. I do think he can be a starting corner in the league. I do think Keontae Scott can be your starting nickel. I do believe that there's another corner. Hold on, I just had the name. Because I was kind of wish-washy in the way that you are about it, like, you know, which is the bigger drop off, right? Because there's that is a very good question, and there's really no way to know that. But Chris Johnson, Brandon Cease, Keith Abernathy, which nobody talks about, or Abney, sorry, D'Angelo Pons, right? I think Pons, you know, he's small, he can play all 3 positions, right? Like these are all first to second round guys, and then you get into the 2nd round, you have Chandler Rivers, you have Taden Stooks, right? Like Tarico Davis. These guys can all be starting number 1 corners. Are they as great as Mansour Delane? No, not necessarily. Do I think they can be your number 1 corner? Absolutely, especially in a zone defense.
So the other way to look at this, to be honest, you look at the Miami Dolphins as a project, right? Is Malik Willis really your guy? You look at the contract they signed him for. To be honest, they gave him a deal that is very, very flexible, right? Even if we cut him after 2 years, you know what? It's not that big of a hit, right? He's really what I call a Band-Aid quarterback. And I hate to say that because he could be the guy. He could be the permanent solution. And then we're going to give him the chance to prove that, right? We're going to give him the chance to prove that. But you look at what they're doing, right? It's almost like they're gearing up to have a draft where they do draft their permanent solution at quarterback, or at least giving them an opportunity to have that option if that's the route they want to take. Now, you look at it, you look at the fact that in the next coming draft, there's people saying there's going to be upwards of 8 different quarterbacks that could be drafted in that draft, right? 2027. For me, if you're going to be looking at grabbing yourself a young permanent solution quarterback, what's the one thing outside of an offensive line, which I think we're almost there at offensive line with who we brought in, Slayer, the guard out of the Chargers. I really like him. I think we just need some depth, to be honest. Outside of offensive line, what's the second thing that a brand new quarterback needs to have? Or not quarterback, I'm sorry, a team needs to have if you're going to go with a rookie quarterback?
Trenches.
Okay, well, you could
Run
argue that,
game and
but I'm going to
trenches.
argue it to one side of the ball. A defense. They need a hell of a good defense to carry that team if you're going to rock with a rookie quarterback. You go back in history and you look at the rookie quarterbacks that were successful. They had a hell of a decent defense, right? Look at Cleveland. Cleveland, they haven't really found their main guy, but one thing is for sure, they've always had a really damn good defense. That's what they've had, right? So if we're going to go into this project of drafting somebody in 2027, let's say that actually happens, right? I want to make sure this defense is complete. That's why I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball. What's missing? For me, it's corner and safety are the two positions that I think that we're really hurting on. Yes, edge, but we got Chop Robinson. We brought in Uche. We definitely need another edge player. I could argue that we can get that in the second or third round of this draft, right? But corner and safety are the biggest needs for me. That's why I'm going with either or in the first round or both in the first round. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's kind of why I went that route. But I wouldn't hate Jordan Tyson on his team. I would love it. We would have a hell of an wide receiver, offensive playmaker. But I'm going to argue that we could definitely get arguably the best receiver in the next draft if Malik Willis is really that guy. You know what I mean? So you can look at it that way too. But yeah, that's definitely an option as well. So any final thoughts on the Miami Dolphins before we move on to the Dallas Cowboys?
No, sir.
I actually do have one sleeper name.
Go
I
ahead.
do think Monroe Freeling also fits at this spot too, because I don't have him gone yet.
Monroe Feeling?
Yeah, he's played both left and right tackle.
Yeah, I said him earlier to who the hell did I send him to? What was it, like 2 picks ago?
David Storm, that is my safety. I think 11's way too high for him, but I would love to get McNeil Warren on this team somehow.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. All right, Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas added Rashawn Gary, Jalen Thompson, and Kobe Durant while losing Osa Odagalozua. Sorry if I didn't say his name correctly. Sorry about that, gentlemen. And they also lost Jalen Tolbert to the Miami Dolphins. Their draft needs are corner, linebacker, edge depth, defensive tackle depth, and receiver here. If we don't take Jermon McCoy is definitely going to be the player here for Dallas. The other player I really like is Kendrick Falk for Dallas at edge. I would say either one, take your pick, flip a coin. It makes sense here for either or. What do you guys think?
I guess I agree. That's where I have Jermon McCoy going. My second name would be Akeem Mesidor. I think teams are starting to take a lot of looks at him. Like I wouldn't do it, but I do think he's gonna fall somewhere in the middle of the first round in this draft. And I think the Cowboys, he fits very well.
Yeah, that's definitely true. What do you think, Mystic?
I think both of you are over here, like, kind of like pretty much saying the same shit that I was about to say, so I'm not really going to repeat myself.
Another name that I kind of like. Let me actually find out where.
Can I say? I think Anthony Hill Jr. makes sense maybe around in this area too.
Yeah, I think they need more edge help than linebacker, though. I think they really need edge. A guy I kind of like is CJ Allen, maybe.
Okay, I can see that.
My only thing about CJ Allen, I think he's small, isn't he?
Yeah, but if you kind of look at like the linebackers they've drafted in the past, they kind of like are very similar. You know what I mean? They always like these undersized or not really thought about linebackers. You know what I mean? They always kind of draft that way. He's just a guy I kind of looked at recently that kind of rings a bell maybe for Dallas. But I really like either I guess Kendra Falk, to be honest, would be my pick, but Dermot McCoy is definitely an option here too. I think it's going to either corner or edge is really kind of what they kind of need.
They also need a safety too. I think Dylan Thieneman also could be a sleeper here.
Ooh, that's a guy I forgot about. Yes. Yes, that is definitely a good pick there. What do you guys think about Zion Young here?
I think it's a little high, but I could see it.
See, I've seen a lot of drafts, mock drafts, where they've had Zion Young somewhere around the middle of this draft, down to even being at 30 or 32. So I'm curious, like, what you guys think. You think it's a little high?
No, just because I feel like people are just when you have a need and you have the ability to address it or what you think to, is that guy to address it. So, again, identify your guy. If that's your guy, go get him, right? And I think that's what's going to happen with some of these guys.
Yeah, for people that don't know, Zion Young, he's 6'6", 300 or 262 pounds, out of Missouri, right? You know, so he's an edge player, definitely a guy. He has the size, strength, and temperament engineered for trench battles, to be honest. And being in a division where you have the Giants, the Eagles, and Commanders, the trenches are very, very important, in my opinion. If I'm Dallas, so I kind of like Zion Young. He's definitely an option, I would say. So, all right. Any other thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys?
No, sir.
All right, on to the Los Angeles Rams, right? I believe the Rams are next on the draft board. So the LA Rams, to kind of give you some insight, they added Trent McDuffie with the blockbuster trade. I think that was hell of a good pick for them. In Jalen Watson, while losing Rob Havenstein and Tutu Atwell. Their draft needs are offensive tackle, offensive line, offensive line succession planning, because I think they have some older offensive linemen. So they got to start picking up some replacements, as well as receiver depth, front seven rotation, and secondary balance. I think the pick here is going to be offensive line. I said Spencer Fanu earlier. Who's the other? Doesn't
Caleb
actually?
Lamu.
Wait a minute. Is this where we get into the Iowa boys? The Iowa offensive linemen. Who are the offensive linemen from Iowa that could go this
Junker. I don't know. I think Jennings is a late, maybe late first, definitely a second round pick. I feel the same thing with Logan Jones. I think Logan Jones is a second round pick, if not a third. But that's just my thoughts. I could be totally wrong.
I'm going to go. What did you say his name was, Steve? Caleb Lemu, right? That was the other guy I was thinking of. Is it Caleb Lemu, I think?
Yes, Caleb Lamu.
Okay. Yeah, that's who I'm going to go here. That's, I think, offensive line, whoever their best offensive lineman that's available. That's where I'm going to go. I think it makes sense. The consensus, according to everyone, they think Spencer Fanu is going to go here, but I could argue he could go higher, or you could swap picks. It could be Limu going higher and then Spencer Fanu falling here. But I think that's where they're going to go. I think they're going to start replacing their offensive linemen as part of that succession plan. What do you guys think?
Okay, well, I guess I'll go. I have Malachi Lemon going here. I think it it's their normal rotation of getting younger. I mean, they have um the my mind is not here today for some reason for names. They have two really good wide receivers, but one is really starting to reach that age where he's going to start going downhill. Devontae Adams, right? And so I do think they need another young receiver on a cheap contract to really start uh getting back into the skills positions.
I kind of really like where you're going with this receiver thoughts as for the Rams, only because I wasn't even thinking about Devonte Adams, but yeah, I do see Devonte Adams is starting to age himself out. Not saying that he's lost talent or anything. It's just a matter of you look at his age and the history of the longevity of your receivers. You eventually have to start swapping them out. But who's their other receiver they have? Puka Nacua, right? Is it me or his name keeps popping up in social media trends, but not really in the positive limelight? I start seeing his name pop up a lot and not for good things. So maybe receiver is something they go, and I'm not going to say that he's going to be gone right away, but maybe they're thinking maybe we need to bring in somebody that we can rely on in case he's not here for whatever reason. And a name that I really like, Denzel Boston to the Rams sounds really good, to be honest. That's a name that I kind of like. He already lives on the West Coast, playing for Washington, obviously. Um, and so that's not an issue. I think what they want to do, his ability to get downfield, contested catches, it works really good with Matt Stafford. I like Denzel Boston.
Oh, he's stealing my takes, everyone. He's stealing my takes. He doesn't want me to speak. I'm just kidding. No,
Hey, I
Denzel
gave
Boston
you an
makes
option.
tons of
Steve
sense,
waited
man.
on you.
No, you're fine. No, Boston makes tons of sense, man. That's where I'm at. Again, to Steve's point here, you got Devontae Adams getting up there. Who better to learn from than Devontae Adams when you're a rookie with Denzel Boston? I mean, couldn't ask for a better mentor to enter the league with. And then you
Yeah.
got Puka Nacua running routes, and that'd be a perfect room to go in. Say I'm going to be a part of it in the next year or two, maybe three. He's one of the better wide receivers on that team, but. Yeah, Denzel Boston makes a hell of a lot of sense to the Rams.
Yeah, I
I
think
wish I
Denzel
could show
Boston I
you.
really like. To me, the top two receivers in this draft, and I even have him ahead of Carnell Tate, is Jordan Tyson and then Denzel Boston. I love them, both those guys. Jordan Tyson, obviously, I like a little bit more, but Denzel Boston is really high on my draft board when it comes to receivers in the position. Another later on, if you were to trade back, there's guys like Cooper that's available. And there's some others. But to be honest, Denzel Boston just makes sense to me. Definitely. All right.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
you looked right at my screen. I wish I could share it. So I had three wide receivers for my list of Rams: Denzel Boston, Makai Lemon, Casey Concepcion, and I chose Lemon for this spot. But I thought Denzel Boston 100% fit the Rams. But I was thinking like they have two bigger body receivers right now in
Mhm.
Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, right? And I felt like they needed somebody, though he's not the fastest kid. I felt like they needed somebody who could work that slot and boundary and get a little because his route running is very good, and that's where he makes up for the lack of the 4.4 speed and being more of a 4.5 guy. Like I saw him compared to um, the kid from the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you see it like he's hard to tackle on first contact. He's known for getting yards after the catch. I think that's something that the Rams have been missing since Buddy went to Seattle. So I
Cooper
think
Kupp.
yeah, Cooper Cup. That's why I ended up going Mekhi Lemon. I thought they were missing that guy.
Yeah, I could definitely see Makai Lemon there as well. But Denzel Boston, man, great hands, one of the best hands in this draft. I think he can catch contested catches better than anybody. Very good. I like the overall, even the way he's built as a receiver. Those are the type of receivers I like personally. All right. On to the Baltimore Ravens with the next pick. Baltimore is going to do Baltimore things. They added Trey Hendrickson out of a crazy draft. Crazy trade. They had Hendrickson and Max Crosby in the room at the same time, only to say, you know what, we're going to send you home, Max. We got Trey here. That's who we're going with. They also brought in John Simpson and Jalen Hawkins while losing names like Tyler Lindenbaum. That's a huge loss. Isaiah Likely and Draymond Jones. Their draft needs are interior offensive linemen, center pass rush depth, defensive line rotation, and secondary depth. I'm going to say this. I hate to say this because if this guy falls to 30 and we don't pick him, I'm going to be kind of pissed because I would be okay with this. Actually, no, I won't be pissed, but this was my second choice at 30 at Miami. But this is who I'm going with. Interior offensive lineman, Oliviega Leon. How do you say his last name? Leon. That's who I'm going with. It makes complete sense. That's the Baltimore Ravens always find a way to get the trench players. They always have the best defensive tackles or interior offensive linemen or offensive tackles. They always find their guy along the line. This is the next guy among many names that they get. I just think that they want someone that can help protect Lamar Jackson and enhance their running game with having Derrick Henry there. I think it makes complete sense.
I think you're spot on. That's exactly where I was going with things. But I guess if we're going to go, my one-off, weird randomness would be. Nah, I take it back. That'd probably be a second round. Second round, I could see them targeting one of the Iowa guys. I'm just going to throw that out there early, but that's way too early for what I expect to happen.
Hey, watch out in the second round for a center from Iowa to Baltimore. That could happen. They need
100%. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think we go with this. I think it's one of those corner things. I think again it just goes down. Maybe this is a Colton Hood, Chris Johnson spot. They always are using the corners and how they like to run that defense. So Minter being over there, he's going to use those guys.
Look, I go ahead, Steve. I'll wait till Steve goes. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm gonna go and erase every fucking name I have at every spot because you and I are on the same wavelength. Vega just fits Baltimore, just the way he plays football. But since you went off and you had to go and do that, I'm gonna take my second guy for him. The Ravens lost a player they rely on a lot in their offense this year. He went to New York. I can see Sadiq sliding right into Baltimore right here.
I figured you would go there. That Kenyon Sadiq definitely makes sense with what they want to do. He's athletic enough. They could throw him on the outside too to play receiver when they need him to as well. He's definitely a guy that you can be on the lookout for. My other two names that I had for the Ravens were Jake Slaughter or Kendrick Folk were the other two names I had.
Slaughter, I have them taking in the third round. I do not have them taking the Iowa center, but I do believe that Slaughter And a mistake. I know you love your Iowa guys. I think Slaughter's the best center in this draft. I just don't think they take him in the first round.
All right. Any other final thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens?
I will say I had one other because you gave two. I think this could be a sneaky place for Lee Hunter.
For
Just
who?
letting
I'm
you
sorry.
know. Lee Hunter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. I can see that too. That would be sneaky, but I don't expect it though. Every year, first round, you can always count on the Ravens to getting some cornerstone piece of their offense or defensive line or edge, maybe a middle linebacker or something like that. I just think offensive line makes complete sense. They need a lot of help there. They need to start looking to replace that offensive line, to be honest. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers added Kenneth Gainwell, running back, Al Quadin Mohammed, and Alex Anzalone, while losing Mike Evans, Rashad White, and Jamel Dean. Their draft needs are edge, linebacker, tight end, cornerback, and wide receiver depth. Their project first round pick, I'm going to say their projected first round pick. I can't even read my own notes. They're saying that this could be Akeem Mesidor, which I kind of agree with this. I do think edge is somewhere to look here. You could look at Zion Young. That's another name to look at here. But let's say they want to go on the offensive side. Kenyon Sadiq could be a guy to go here as well if he gets past the Ravens. If not, wide receiver. I think wide receiver depth is really what's needed. So I'm going to hold off wide receiver at the second round pick for them. I think I'm going to go ahead and say it. Look at a guy like Akeem Mesidor. If you don't go Akeem Mesidor, a guy that I really like for here, especially since, God, what was his name? Their linebacker just announced retirement.
Levante David. I was going to say that when you were going over the guys missing.
Anthony Hill Jr. makes sense here, linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. That's actually, I like that better than Mesidor. If Mesidor's gone, Anthony Hill Jr. to Tampa Bay, to be honest. That's where I'm going.
So, based on the whole Mike Evans, leaving and them kind of getting hurt by that, wouldn't surprise me one bit. This is where, if he falls, this is where I have Sadiq going or them going and getting Malachi Fields to help fill that big body role.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Tampa needs as much wide receiver help as y'all do. They have Emeka Ibuka, they have Chris Godwin, and they have the other kid, I think, that went to Ohio State. I can't remember his name at the second, the one who torched us in our game. So wide receiver, I don't think is as big of a need for them. However, they do have a Midwest red-headed ginger kid on their offensive line missing his front 3 teeth. And I know the issues they had on their offensive line last year with injuries. I think Dunker makes a hell of a choice here for Tampa. They solidify their offensive line, and that's how Tampa likes to draft. They love to draft trenches. You now get 2 redheaded gingers on the same offensive line. Can the NFL stop that? I don't know, but I think it fits the need that they have right now at guard.
Which guard did you say they're going? Which one?
Jennings Dunker.
Yeah, that could be definitely a guy. Other names I like for Tampa, to be 100% honest. Well, actually, no. I already gave it to you. Kenyon Sadiq was my other guy, and I really like Kenyon Sadiq for them too. So, but Anthony Hill Jr. and Kenyon Sadiq are my top 2 picks for them. I don't think I know people say wide receivers a need. It's really just wide receiver depth, because outside of those receivers that you mentioned, when one of them goes down, they ended up needing somebody. So I'm going to go ahead and say you could wait to the second or third round for a wide receiver for Tampa, to be honest. But having
I
Kenny
will say
there makes sense too. Go ahead.
I do have one other name, and it's only because, and for them they lost a defensive tackle. I think Caleb Banks can slide in here as well. I think he fits the bigger body defensive tackle that they like to have. I mean, Vita Vea's getting up there in age. They lost Greg Gaines, I believe, in free agency. So, like, I think the defensive tackle is kind of a big thing. So,
Mhm.
and trust, and this is what I'm hearing from them, right? From the Tampa fans around me. They I hear a lot of edge defensive tackle and offensive line from them.
Well, that's definitely an option. Any more final thoughts on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Mystic? Anything else?
I'm good.
All right. With the 16th pick, the Jets, which I already mentioned before, I have them taking Arvell Reese. Wide receiver makes sense here. Wide receiver makes sense because they need a number 2 wide receiver. For me, I'm looking at guys, whatever wide receiver is going to be available. That also includes Omar Cooper. Omar Cooper might be here. KC Concepcion may be an option here. Maybe Mekhi Lemon is your wide receiver too that you bring in here, to be honest. I think whatever top receiver is available, you're looking at one of those guys at this position, because I think that's the next position they're going to hit on for the New York Jets. What do you guys think?
I think we're both pretty much in agreement on that, except for I had a different name. I mean, I'd feel bad for the guy, truly, if this is what happened to him, but I think this is a perfect spot. You need someone to complement. Excuse me. He needs someone to complement Garrett Wilson. And I think the best thing to do with that would be get a guy like Zachariah Branch out of Georgia. One of those playmakers absolutely is going to open up new. You're not going to be able to just double team. You're really going to have to just straight up make sure you take care of both these guys with the speed and the ability.
That's it. That's very good. Very good name. What do you think, Steve?
So let me kick the door down in this draft real quick. I think the Jets shock the world and take Ty Simpson right now.
Ooh, you think Ty Simpson's going to fall all the way to 16?
Yes.
Oh, that would shock the world, to be honest. That definitely is a shock. I'm going to go ahead and put a honorable mention for me if the defensive lineman out of Ohio State that you mentioned earlier, Caden McDonald. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
If he's here, that could be a position they address and bring him in there as well, and just go back-to-back defensive players in the first round. I could see them doing something like that. But Ty Simpson, man. And again, you bring in a Ty Simpson to a quarterback like Geno Smith, he can sit for a year and learn behind Geno Smith. It makes sense. That definitely makes sense. That would be hell. Hey, if that happens, Steve, that's going to be hell of the fact that you called it.
My backup for them was Josiah Trotter, because they lost both of the Williams brothers, Quincy and Quinnen. So they need linebacker help. Even though I know they brought in Buddy, who used to play for them, he's a stopgap. I think Josiah Trotter not being forced straight onto the field and just the chance to get his footing in with Mario Douglas there, like, I think that's a great situation for him.
Definitely. All right, gentlemen. Well, that is the number 16 pick. We're almost to the 2-hour mark. So I think we said we're going to hold off the rest of the draft. we'll do next week, right? We'll give our analysis, what we think teams could do. What do you think about that? Or should we continue? I kind of need to. I think it's time
No,
for me
that's
to.
perfect. I think 16 in this, and we'll finish the other 16 up, get that first round out, and I think we
All
can
right.
go.
So make everyone hit the like button. We have 45 people watching on all fronts. I appreciate all of you. Come over to at 4th and 10U on YouTube. Follow us. We're about 70 people following us right now. We're on the road to 100. Once we get to 100 followers, we're going to have a giveaway. Next Tuesday, we will finish up this first round with our analysis on what we think teams could go, what players could go where. This is not a mock draft. This is really just an analysis of what things we think teams should do or are going to do. But make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're brand new, turn on the notification bell, and check us out next week. Next week, I might have a special guest on with us too, so stay tuned for that. Final words for you, Mystic. What are your final words?
Final words. Again, I appreciate the show that we got. I appreciate everyone taking their time to tune in, to listen to, us three talking heads give our opinion. So we appreciate you guys. I appreciate the co-hosts. Appreciate you fellas. It's always a good time, chopping it up with you guys on a Tuesday night.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you guys very much. Definitely. And final words to you, Steve?
I mean, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The draft is my favorite time of the year. This is what I not that I watch football for, but what I spend a lot of my time doing outside of watching, regular football and college football. It's setting up for this stuff. So I'm excited. 4 weeks to go.
I want to bring up something real quick. You mentioned Ty Simpson being the pick here. What do you think about Vega here?
Well, he posted that when we were talking about the Ravens, but Vega.
I'm talking about Vega as in for the Jets. I'm asking you.
I mean, I don't know. Like, they have a lot of offensive line. They spent a lot on that offensive line. That would be an interesting pick to continue to just dump guys into that room. I could see it happening though. I mean, they've done a lot.
Yeah, that would be shock the world if Vega goes in the first round, to be honest. That's just my opinion. I don't think he's a first rounder, to be honest.
What Vega are you talking about?
I thought he was talking about QB.
No. He's talking about the dude you couldn't say his name. Everybody calls him Vega.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about Vanderbilt's QB. Do you think? Yeah, Flavio. Do you think he? Could that be a surprise pick for the Jets?
No, I don't think Pavia gets drafted. I don't even think the Jets are that dumb. Man.
Yeah, that would be a crazy pick, though. But if they did it, though, it would be Jets doing Jets things, though. You know what I mean? That's kind of like something that they would do. Everybody hit the like button. Great show. We'll pick it up next Tuesday. We'll finish off the draft. We'll talk about, what our analysis is on players that could go where, what we think teams are going to do. Then after that, we're going to be talking about some more of the pro days and some sleepers. We're going to have a sleeper show on these prospects, on who we think the top sleepers are going to be. And then we'll finish it off for draft week. We're going to definitely be giving our final 4th and 10U mock draft then. And then we're going to be live during the draft. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. We'll see you guys all next week, Tuesday. Be there or be square.